Have you ever had a moment where your words suddenly came out wrong, or your hand dropped something for no reason? You laughed it off, maybe blamed it on being tired or just getting older. But those few seconds could be your brain waving a red flag for a mini-stroke, the kind that ends quietly but can lead to a major one within days. Most people never realize it's their warning shot until it's too late. But the good thing is that your body always tells the truth. Once you know what to listen for, you can stop a big stroke before it starts. Later in this video, I'll show you the one sign that almost everyone misses, and it shows up right in your eyes. In Japan, I've seen seniors stay sharp and independent for decades by paying attention to these tiny moments. They didn't panic, they acted. I'm Dr. Suzuki Sato, a Japanese nutritionist who spent a lifetime helping adults over 60 protect their brains with calm awareness. Have you ever had one of those strange moments yourself? Leave a quick yes below and stay with me, because the next sign could multiply all the others. A mini-stroke sounds small, doesn't it? Like something that comes and goes without leaving a mark. But the truth is, a mini-stroke is your brain's version of a fire alarm. It rings for a reason, and if you ignore it, the next alarm could burn down everything you've worked to protect. A mini-stroke, or what doctors call a transient ischemic attack, happens when blood flow to part of your brain is blocked for just a short time. It might last a few seconds or a few minutes, then clear up completely. That's why so many people wave it off and think, "I'm fine now." But the danger isn't over when the symptoms stop. That's actually when the clock starts ticking. According to major hospitals in both the US and Japan, having a mini-stroke means your risk of a major stroke skyrockets in the next 48 hours. That's 2 days where every minute counts. Many people don't realize that these tiny passing symptoms are their chance to act before permanent damage happens. Think of it like this. If the power in your house flickers off and back on, you don't ignore it. You check the wiring. You know something caused it. Your brain works the same way. When one area loses blood flow for even a short time, it's a warning that something in the system, your blood pressure, your heart rhythm, or your arteries, needs attention. Maybe you've had one of those moments yourself. You try to lift a fork and your hand won't move right. You open your mouth to speak, but the words come out jumbled. You blink and your vision goes blurry in one eye. It passes, so you shrug it off. But what's really happening inside your body is far more serious. It's a message saying, fix this now before something worse happens. When I first started working with older adults in Japan, I noticed a clear difference between those who stayed independent and those who struggled later on. The ones who stayed sharp didn't wait. If something unusual happened, even for 30 seconds, they got it checked immediately. And time after time, that simple choice saved their memory, their speech, and their movement. Let's make this clear. A mini-stroke is not a close call. It's part one of a two-part story. The first part is your chance to act. The second part, if ignored, can take away your speech, your mobility, or even your independence. Now here's the hopeful part, and it's important. When a mini-stroke is caught quickly, doctors can often find what caused it and stop the next one from happening. Sometimes it's high blood pressure. Sometimes it's an irregular heartbeat called atrial fibrillation. Sometimes it's a small buildup of plaque in the arteries. These things can be managed with medication, small diet changes, or simple routines you can start at home. It's not about fear. It's about awareness and control. If you've ever had a quick spell like this, your arm went weak, your words got fuzzy, or you couldn't see clearly for a minute, would you share what it felt like in the comments? It might help someone realize they've experienced the same thing and push them to get checked. You never know whose life that could save. What makes mini-strokes so tricky is how easy they are to dismiss. They don't hurt. They don't last. You can be back to normal in minutes. But here's something most people don't realize. About 1 in 3 people who have a mini-stroke will have a full stroke later on if they don't get treatment. The body gives us a warning before the big one. We just have to learn to listen. And it's not just about avoiding the worst-case scenario. It's about protecting everything that gives your life meaning. Your ability to walk, talk, cook, drive, play with your grandchildren, and live without constant fear. Imagine you could add another decade of clear thinking, strong balance, and confident independence, simply by listening to what your brain tries to tell you in these short moments. That's how powerful early recognition can be. Many of my older patients tell me they wish they'd known this sooner. They say things like, "I thought it was nothing," or "I didn't want to bother anyone." But you are not bothering anyone by protecting your brain. You're giving your future self a gift, the ability to stay yourself. If you take only one thing from this part of the video, let it be this: your body never lies. Those brief moments, the slurred words, the numb hand, the blurry vision, they're not random, they're a message. And the sooner you act, the better your chances of keeping everything you love about your life exactly the way it is. Now that you understand what a mini stroke really means, we can start talking about how to recognize the signs, the 8 specific clues your brain gives you before something bigger happens. Each one can appear in ordinary moments, and knowing them could make all the difference. Now that you understand what a mini stroke really means, let's talk about how to spot it when it's happening. Because here's the truth: you don't need a medical degree to recognize the warning signs. You just need to know what's normal for you and what feels suddenly off. Most people think a stroke only happens when someone collapses or loses control completely. But mini strokes are quieter. They sneak in during ordinary moments, brushing your teeth, holding your coffee, reading the paper. They might only last a few seconds, but they always start the same way. Suddenly. That's the key word. A mini stroke doesn't build up slowly like muscle soreness or a headache. It's a light switch. 1 second you're fine, the next something isn't working right. Maybe you can't smile evenly. Maybe your arm won't lift. Maybe your speech sounds funny, like your tongue got too heavy. If you can remember this one phrase, you'll be miles ahead. Sudden and different. That's what separates a mini stroke from everything else. It comes out of nowhere, and it feels different from anything you've had before. Let me give you an example. A woman I once spoke with in Osaka said she was reading her morning newspaper, and suddenly she couldn't see the left half of the page. No pain, no warning, just gone. It came back a few minutes later and she almost ignored it. But her daughter insisted she go to the hospital. They found a small blockage in her carotid artery, a mini stroke. Because she got help quickly, she avoided a major stroke that could have taken her eyesight for good. That story isn't rare. It happens every single day around the world. But the outcome depends on what happens in those first few minutes. Here's something that might surprise you. Most mini strokes don't happen while someone's rushing or exercising. They often happen when people are still, watching TV, talking, eating. The brain suddenly loses blood flow to a small area, and the symptoms depend on which part is affected. That's why no 2 people experience them exactly the same way, and sometimes it doesn't even hurt. You might just notice something strange, like your arm feeling clumsy, or your vision going blurry, or words getting stuck mid-sentence. The biggest mistake people make is saying, "Oh, it went away, so I'm fine." If your lights flickered off and back on at home, you'd call someone to check the wiring, right? Your brain deserves the same care. Take a second and think. Have you ever had a quick, weird moment like that, where something felt off, but you brushed it off because it passed? If so, type yes in the comments. You might help someone else realize they've felt it too. Now, here's something many people don't realize. These brief episodes can show up in the same person more than once. They can happen days, weeks, or months apart. That doesn't mean you're safe. It means your brain keeps trying to get your attention. If you ever experience sudden weakness, confusion, or vision loss that disappears in minutes, it's not a fluke. It's your brain saying, "Please fix this before I can't recover next time." The hardest part is how normal everything looks afterward. You can walk, talk, and smile again, so you convince yourself it's fine. But inside, the same clot or narrowing artery could still be there, waiting. That's why doctors always say, time is brain. The faster you get checked, the more brain you save. Here's a good rule of thumb. If the change was sudden, one-sided, or just plain strange, call for help. Don't drive yourself. Don't wait to see if it happens again. Get checked right away. Even if the symptoms are gone, the danger isn't. In Japan, families teach their elders a simple phrase that translates to act while you still can. It's a gentle reminder that you always have a window of control, but only if you use it. If you've ever had to help someone during a health scare like this, a spouse, a parent, or a friend, would you share what happened? Others reading your comment might recognize those same signs in themselves. Your story could literally save a life. You don't need to live in fear, you just need awareness. Every sudden change your body gives you is information, and knowing how to read it is what separates panic from preparation. Now that you understand the pattern, that mini-strokes happen suddenly, feel different, and vanish too quickly, it's time to know exactly what to look for. There are 8 specific signs that your brain uses to send a warning. Once you know them, you'll never confuse them with something harmless again. And that knowledge might just protect your speech, your vision, and your independence for years to come. Now that you know what a mini-stroke feels like and how suddenly it strikes, let's get clear on what those signs actually look like, because when you know them, you'll never wonder if what you're feeling is nothing. You'll know it's worth checking. The first sign is sudden weakness or numbness on one side of the body. This could be your arm, leg, or face. You might go to lift your fork and it feels like your hand forgot what to do. Maybe one side of your mouth doesn't move when you smile, or your leg feels like it's made of sand for a few seconds. It doesn't matter if it lasts 10 seconds or 10 minutes. It's not normal aging. It's your brain sending a flare into the sky. The second sign is trouble speaking or understanding words. You might know what you want to say, but the words come out wrong, or your tongue feels heavy. Sometimes you sound fine in your head, but others hear your speech slurring or mixing words. That's because part of the brain that handles language is being starved of oxygen, even for just a short time. If you ever feel that happening, don't laugh it off or wait it out. That's one of the biggest red flags there is. The third sign hides in your vision. One eye might suddenly go blurry, dim, or even dark, like someone pulled a curtain down for a few moments. You might think it's your glasses or that you blinked too hard, but this can mean a blockage in the artery feeding your eye or brain. It's called transient vision loss, and it's often the only warning a person gets before a much bigger stroke. The fourth sign is dizziness or loss of balance. Not the kind that comes from standing too fast or missing a step. This is different. It hits all at once. The room might tilt, your legs might not cooperate, or you feel like the floor is uneven. If your speech or vision is off at the same time, it's almost certain to be neurological. The fifth sign is a sudden, severe headache that's out of character for you. You've had headaches before, but this one feels different, sharper, faster, or stronger. It can come without warning and might feel like pressure behind the eyes or deep inside the head. Even if it fades, it needs attention. The sixth sign is sudden confusion. You're reading a sentence and suddenly can't make sense of it. You're talking, and the conversation feels like it's happening underwater. Your brain knows something's wrong, but you can't quite explain what. That's often how small strokes present, through short bursts of disconnection. The seventh sign is a drooping face or uneven smile. You can see this most clearly in photos or mirrors. One side lifts, the other doesn't. Family members often notice this before the person does. If someone tells you your smile looks crooked, take it seriously. And the eighth sign is trouble swallowing. You might cough or choke while eating, or your voice sounds gurgly after taking a sip. It can mean that the nerves controlling swallowing have been briefly affected. This one often gets overlooked because it seems like a small thing, but it isn't. These are your body's most urgent signals. And here's something that might shock you. Even if every single one of these symptoms disappears within minutes, it's still an emergency. The risk of a full stroke is highest within the next 2 days. That's why doctors say, don't wait to see if it happens again. Go now. If you've ever noticed one of these signs in yourself or a loved one, would you share which one it was in the comments? Your story might help another person realize what's happening in their own life. Here's a quick way to remember the warning signs: sudden weakness, sudden speech changes, sudden vision loss, sudden dizziness, sudden headache, sudden confusion, sudden facial droop, and sudden trouble swallowing. The word to focus on is sudden. If it appears out of nowhere, don't hesitate. Act. It's important to understand that none of these mean you've failed or that something terrible is guaranteed. These are warnings, chances to stop a bigger problem before it happens. Many people who act fast after a mini-stroke recover fully and go on to live long, healthy lives. The key is speed. Every minute you save by getting help protects brain cells, millions of them. That's not an exaggeration. A healthy brain is what lets you think clearly, move easily, and stay independent. That's worth protecting, isn't it? It's normal to feel scared when you hear these signs, but fear isn't the goal. Awareness is. When you understand your body's messages, you take back control. You don't have to wait until something bad happens to protect yourself. You can start right now, simply by knowing what to look for and acting fast. If you take one thing from this part of the video, let it be this: sudden change means something. Don't wait it out. Don't take a nap to see if it improves. Get help right away. You can recover from an embarrassment. You can't always recover from a stroke. Now that you know what those 8 warning signs look like, it's time to understand what can sometimes look like a mini-stroke but isn't, and how to tell the difference so you don't panic or worse, ignore the real thing. Now that you know the 8 warning signs, it's just as important to understand that not every strange moment means you've had a mini-stroke. Some other conditions can look almost the same, and that's what makes this so tricky. The goal here isn't to diagnose yourself, but to learn what's worth getting checked right away and what might have another explanation. Let's start with something common: migraine aura. Many people over 60 still get migraines, and sometimes the warning signs mimic a mini-stroke. You might see flashing lights, zigzag lines, or shimmering colors in your vision. The big difference is that migraines usually build up slowly over several minutes. A mini-stroke, on the other hand, starts instantly. One moment you're fine, the next, something just switches off. Migraine auras also tend to come with a familiar headache pattern. If you've had them before, you usually know the feeling. Another thing that can look similar is low blood sugar. If you have diabetes or take certain medications, your blood sugar can dip too low and make you dizzy, weak, or confused. You might sweat, shake, or feel faint. The difference is that low blood sugar improves quickly after eating or drinking something sweet. A mini-stroke doesn't fix itself that easily, and it's often one-sided, like weakness in just one arm or one side of the face. Then there's inner ear problems, things like vertigo or an ear infection. These can cause sudden dizziness or a feeling that the room is spinning. But with an ear issue, your hearing might also feel off, or you may have a recent cold. With a mini-stroke, the dizziness usually comes with another symptom, like slurred speech, blurred vision, or weakness on one side. That combination is what sets it apart. Some people experience seizures that are very mild, called focal seizures. They can cause confusion, jerky movements, or odd sensations that last only seconds. But seizures often have a repetitive pattern and may leave you feeling tired or out of it afterward. TIAS, or mini-strokes, tend to leave you completely normal afterward. That's why so many people dismiss them. Here's something that can fool almost anyone. stress and anxiety attacks. When adrenaline surges, it can cause tingling, chest pressure, dizziness, and even blurry vision. It feels awful, but it's not cutting off blood flow to your brain. One key difference is that anxiety attacks often happen during emotional stress or fear. Mini-strokes usually happen during calm moments while you're sitting, eating, or relaxing. So, how do you handle all this? Here's the best rule I've ever heard. If you're unsure, treat it like a mini-stroke. No one will ever fault you for being careful. Doctors can quickly test whether there's been any damage or blockage. And if it turns out to be something else, great. You've lost a few hours, but you may have gained peace of mind and possibly even saved your brain. If you're thinking right now, I once had a strange moment, but I didn't get checked, you're not alone. Many people have that story. Would you be willing to share yours in the comments? You never know who it might encourage to act faster next time. One of the smartest things you can do if a symptom ever hits is to write down exactly what happened, the time it started, which side of the body felt weak, how long it lasted, whether your vision changed. Those details are incredibly helpful to doctors. Even if the episode passes, by the time you reach the hospital, they'll use your notes to decide what tests to run and what treatment might help prevent another event. And let's make something clear. Getting checked quickly doesn't always mean a hospital stay or heavy medication. Sometimes it just means a scan, a short observation, or adjusting something simple like blood pressure medicine or heart rhythm monitoring. The sooner they find the cause, the easier it is to fix. It's also worth knowing that catching a TIA doesn't just prevent strokes, it protects everything else too. The same habits that keep your brain's blood flow strong also protect your heart, your eyes, and even your memory. It's all connected. If you're wondering how you can make your brain and body more resilient, how to lower your risk for a mini stroke or a major one, that's where your daily choices start to matter. Things like your blood pressure, your heartbeat, your movement, and the food you eat every day can make a bigger difference than most people realize. That's exactly what we'll talk about next. How to build simple, realistic habits that strengthen your brain's blood flow and make these warning moments far less likely to happen again. It's not complicated. In fact, it's often the smallest, calmest routines that make the biggest difference. You've learned how a mini stroke works, how to spot the signs, and what can look like one. Now let's talk about something just as important, how to lower your risk and protect your brain every single day. Because the truth is, you have far more control than most people realize. A lot of folks think strokes are random. They aren't. In most cases, they're the result of small build-up changes that happen quietly over time. Blood pressure creeping up, blood sugar running too high, or arteries getting a little narrower each year. The good news? Those same changes can also be reversed quietly with small daily habits. The first thing to focus on is blood pressure. Doctors all over the world agree it's the #1 factor in stroke prevention. High blood pressure is like water pressure in a hose. If it's too strong for too long, it starts to damage the walls. In your brain, those walls are your blood vessels. When they weaken, even a small blockage can cause big problems. But here's the encouraging part. Every healthy meal, every short walk, and every relaxed breath helps bring that pressure down. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. Even checking your blood pressure at home once a week gives you awareness, and awareness is power. If you monitor at home, write down your readings. Bring them to your doctor. That one step helps catch changes early, sometimes before any symptoms appear. The second key factor is heart rhythm. There's a condition called atrial fibrillation, or AFib, where the heart beats unevenly. It's common after 60 and can cause tiny clots to form that travel to the brain. Many people don't feel it happening. They just notice occasional fluttering or tiredness. That's why taking your pulse once a day matters. You can do it right now while watching this. Place 2 fingers on your wrist. If the beat feels irregular or skips around, make a note and mention it to your doctor. It's a simple habit that could save your brain. Have you ever caught something early just by paying attention, like a car making a noise or a plant starting to wilt, and fixed it before it became a big problem? That's exactly what these small checks do for your body. Share in the comments if you've ever caught a health issue early just because you listened to your body. Next comes what you eat and drink. You don't need a complicated diet. Think simple, traditional, and balanced. In Japan, elders often follow what's called shokuyoku no kisetsu, eating foods that match the season. Fish, vegetables, miso, tofu, rice, and green tea form the base. These meals are low in processed salt and high in natural nutrients that keep arteries flexible. In the US, you can follow the same idea with the ingredients you have: colorful fruits and vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains, and good fats like olive oil or salmon. The goal isn't perfection, it's consistency. If you love something salty like miso soup or pickles, just balance it with water and potassium-rich foods like bananas, spinach, or avocados. If you enjoy coffee or green tea, keep it moderate and stay hydrated. You don't have to give up everything. You just have to give your brain the environment it needs to thrive. Now, let's talk about movement. Gentle, regular movement keeps blood flowing smoothly. You don't need a gym. Walking around the block, doing light stretching, or working in the garden counts. Even small motions, bending, reaching, standing from a chair, keep your circulation strong. One of my patients once told me, "I thought sitting was rest, but it was really slowing me down." He started walking 5 minutes each morning and evening. Within a month, his blood pressure dropped and his balance improved. Tiny steps add up. And here's one more habit people overlook: rest. Quality sleep helps the brain clear waste and regulate blood flow. Many strokes happen early in the morning, right after waking up, because pressure spikes. Going to bed at a consistent time, taking evening medications as prescribed, and keeping your mornings calm helps even out those spikes. If you've ever noticed how much better your day feels after a full night's rest, let us know below. You'll be surprised how many people agree. Now let's tie this all together. None of these habits are dramatic. They're quiet, but quiet changes are the ones that last. When you eat for balance, move a little every day, check your pressure and pulse, and rest on schedule, you're doing what every brain needs, keeping its blood flow steady and strong. You don't have to live in fear of another stroke or TIA. You just need awareness and rhythm. Each calm, intentional day becomes another layer of protection. In the next part, we'll talk about fine-tuning, how to make small adjustments if you take medications, live with diabetes, or have conditions that change your risk. Because no two bodies are the same, and your plan should fit you perfectly. You've just learned something that most people never do: how to recognize the early warnings of a stroke and how to protect your brain every single day. That knowledge alone puts you far ahead of where you were just minutes ago. Now think about this. Your brain controls everything you love to do. Speaking with family, cooking your favorite meal, remembering names and stories. Every moment of independence starts there. So when your body gives you even the smallest signal, a weak arm, slurred word, or dim vision, it's not trying to scare you, it's trying to save you. Here's the good news. Acting fast works. Thousands of people every year stop major strokes in their tracks just by noticing a small change and calling for help. That one decision can mean walking out of the hospital instead of spending months relearning how to walk. If something in this video made you realize, "I've felt that before," don't ignore it. Write it down. Talk to your doctor. And if you haven't had those signs, that's even better. You now know how to protect yourself long before they ever appear. Would you do something for me? Type one thing you learned today that you'll remember or share with a friend. Your comment might be exactly what someone else needs to see tonight.